There's a sound a fence makes when it isn't just broken, but violated, like someone reached straight into the lungs of the land and ripped the breath out. And that morning, standing barefoot on the old cedar porch, half a cup of coffee still warm in my hand, I heard that sound slice through the quiet like a bone snapping clean, and before my brain caught up, my heart already knew. We had company, and not the friendly kind. I stepped out, breeze carrying that dusty ranch smell mixed with wood smoke from Grandpa's early fire. And there she was, the self-appointed queen of suburbia justice herself. Karen Lambert, HOA badge crooked on her vest, like she'd pinned authority on crooked on purpose because she thought confidence fixed everything. Designer boots planted in our pasture like she owned gravity, and in her hands, big shiny bolt cutters glinting in the sun like they were props in some HOA superhero fantasy. She played in the mirror before breakfast. Her white Jeep idled halfway onto our land, front bumper nudging one of our cows in that impatient kind of way city folks nudge grocery carts, like the world's supposed to move when they sigh loud enough. And she wasn't hesitating, she wasn't checking anything. She wasn't even looking around to see if she belonged. She just snapped our perimeter fence, the one Grandpa electrified back in '89 for coyotes, like she was trimming rose bushes in a gated community and not trespassing on land settled here long before the first HOA bylaws ever got printed on fancy thick paper. Grandpa was beside me, rocking slow like time followed him, not the other way around, sunglasses low on his nose, mug held like a church relic, and without looking up he muttered, calm as a man reading Sunday weather. She just cut the live line, sipping again like he was talking about the forecast, not an armed invasion of idiocy. There are two types of danger in life: the quiet kind that grows slow until it's everywhere, and the loud kind that shows up in designer boots with a clipboard. And somehow Karen was both. I called out, trying to keep my voice steady, because rage only adds oxygen to wildfire when it feels insulted. Morning, ma'am. That's private fencing. And she didn't even glance at me, just scribbled something on that clipboard like she was giving the almighty notes on land layout. That structure doesn't match approved architectural palette, she said, gesturing at our barn like she'd found a crime scene instead of a building older than half the trees she drove past to get here. And this fence line violates suburban site corridor standards. We don't have suburban site corridors, I told her, trying not to laugh, because sometimes absurdity arrives dressed so serious you have to squint to see the joke. You do now, she shot back, voice clipped like she practiced authority in the mirror while microwaving oat milk. Article 7, Section C, passed last quarter. You should read the bylaws more carefully. I glanced at the shredded fencing, the cow staring at her like it was questioning humanity's evolution, the dust rising in slow morning curls, and all I could think was, some folks are so sure they're right they'll march onto your land, breathe your air, and cut your fence before breakfast, convinced they're Moses parting sin, not trespassers breaking federal statutes. You realize, I said slow, that wire was hot. Well, she huffed, brushing dust off her bright white vest. Maybe it shouldn't have been in violation. Grandpa rose slow like a storm cloud building, set his mug down, stretched his back with that pops and cracks symphony country folks collect over a lifetime of lifting things heavier than ego, and said, guess it's time to dust off the generator. My stomach dropped. See, there are stories your family tells about a man, and then there are things you witness with your own eyes that make those stories feel small. And Grandpa Roy was the type of man legends understate: quiet, stubborn, loyal to dirt, older than lawyers, and absolutely unwilling to let someone rewrite a landscape he built with sweat and stubborn hope. When Grandpa decides something needs to be taught a lesson, the universe usually takes notes. I'll talk to her. I tried, because reason feels like duty even when you know logic don't work on someone who irons rules but wrinkles relationships. But Grandpa shook his head, voice soft, dangerous in its calm. Fence was the line. She cut more than wire. And I swear the birds stopped singing for a heartbeat like they were leaning in to hear what came next. Karen strutted back to her Jeep like she'd just liberated democracy, tossed her clipboard in, slammed the door, and shouted across the field, expect a citation and a fine. HOA jurisdiction supersedes informal agricultural occupancy. That's fancy talk for we think we own you now. I watched her drive off, tires spitting gravel like she was making a statement, and when dust settled, Grandpa was already walking to the barn, mumbling about fuses and that old schematic from '94, and every part of me wanted to stop him. But another part, the part that knew this land gave us our spine, whispered quiet, "She asked for this." Inside the barn, Grandpa pulled a grease-stained blueprint from a shelf like he was unrolling scripture, and he grinned. That slow mischief grin that means trouble's got manners and is about to knock politely before kicking the door in. "You remember the trap I built for that county fella tried to ticket us for too many goats?" he asked. "You mean the lawnmower that backfired Beethoven's Fifth Symphony?" He winked. "We tune it different this time." Something under her Jeep. "Grandpa, maybe we should call the sheriff." He looked at me like I asked if corn grows on trees. "Son, law's got better things to do than babysit weaponized clipboards." And there it was, the line where fear and admiration shake hands. We spent the rest of that day crawling under Karen's Jeep, still trespassing on our soil, rigging copper wire, a livestock battery, a relay timer, and Grandpa's sense of poetic justice. The plan wasn't cruel, just corrective. Sometimes nature bites, sometimes electricity does the talking. By sunset, the rig was set, the air thick with cicadas and tension, and Grandpa wiped sweat from his brow, whispering like he was blessing a church pew. Not pain, just perspective. Next morning, Karen marched up like she was late for war, got into her Jeep without looking at a thing she'd broken, without a thought for a fence line older than her favorite hair product, turned the key, and it started. Horn blasting Yankee Doodle like God was trolling freedom itself, windshield wipers slashing like angry metronomes, seatbelt locking like justice wrapped in nylon, and then a zap like angels flicking her with static vengeance. She screamed like she'd been kissed by lightning and insulted at the same time, jumping out and face-planting in goat weed, hair smoking like the truth just hit her soul. Grandpa leaned in the doorway, peaceful as sunrise, and said, "Jeep gets temperamental around trespassers." And I swear even the cows smirked. But laughter's a short-lived luxury when trouble's got pride. Because if there's one thing you never underestimate, it's a suburban crusader with humiliation in her bloodstream. Karen wasn't done, not by a long shot. And deep inside my chest, beneath laughter and adrenaline, a question sat heavy like rain in storm clouds waiting to burst. How far would she go? And how far would we be forced to follow? If humiliation were medicine, maybe Karen would have swallowed a dose and rested her ego. But folks like her don't retreat, they reload. And the next 2 days were so quiet it felt like the land itself was holding its breath, waiting to see which way fate planned to tilt. Grandpa rebuilt the fence like nothing happened, humming old country tunes, tapping nails like each one was sealing a promise into wood. You don't cut what you don't own. And I kept glancing toward the ridge like I expected the horizon to spit out headlights and vengeance. By the time the crickets started tuning up their nighttime choir and the lantern glow softened the porch boards, Grandpa lit his pipe, rocked slow, and said, almost too casual, "She's cooking something, and it ain't biscuits." And I knew. The storm wasn't over, it was gathering. Next morning, the peace shattered like a dropped mason jar. Engines, tires, boots, voices. Karen returned, this time in convoy, 2 shiny SUVs behind her, HOA enforcement patrol, magnets slapped on the sides like she bought authority on clearance, 3 men in matching khakis and sunglasses stepping out like mall cop Navy SEALs, clipboards tucked like they were sidearms, Karen marching ahead with righteous fury like she'd been personally chosen by the Founding Fathers to defend lawn uniformity. They strutted toward our gate like they were filming some reality show, Extreme Neighborhood Makeover, Dictatorship Edition. Karen raised her megaphone like she was declaring martial law. Effective immediately, this property is under temporary jurisdictional review for safety violations, electrical hazards, and unauthorized agricultural expansion. Grandpa leaned against the corral, chewing on nothing, calm like a man who's seen enough nonsense to wallpaper a barn. "Lady, you can spray perfume on a skunk, still smells like skunk." One of her khaki soldiers puffed up, stepping forward like he was going to block Grandpa's path. Grandpa raised his pitchfork slow, not threatening, just reminding. "You step past that gate," he murmured, voice soft but sharp enough to cut air. "You're not trespassing on my ranch anymore. You're trespassing on my patience." Silence stretched, long enough for a bird to rethink singing, and that man realized ambition wasn't worth getting stabbed by a retired rancher with perfect posture. Karen, red in the face, waved her papers like she was slinging holy scripture. Under Article 47, Section, Lady, Grandpa interrupted. This ranch was fenced when Jimmy Carter was still arguing about peanuts. Ain't no paper committee outranking a boundary older than your perfume formula. The officers behind her were cracking, one stifling a laugh, another pretending to check his phone, and Karen's face twitched like a ticking bomb powered by caffeine and suburban rage. You will be hearing from our legal team, she hissed, spitting each word like she was allergic to being challenged. I'll look forward to the coloring book version, Grandpa replied. Her convoy peeled out with more dust than dignity, and the moment they were gone, Grandpa exhaled slow like a man who'd been holding back an earthquake. 3 days, he said, like reading weather. We bought 3. Then he looked at me, and that look had weight, the kind you inherit, not question. Time to get creative. And boy, when Grandpa says creative, Lord help whoever's on the other side of the idea. The next 48 hours looked like a cross between a junkyard, a secret lab, and a 4th of July party run by mad scientists. Dale and Roy Lee, Grandpa's old hunting buddies, rolled in with beat-up pickups full of weird parts. Windmill motor, PVC pipe, leftover fireworks, a cooler labeled bait, but suspiciously holding Mountain Dew. Grandpa dusted off his old notebook, the one full of trap diagrams and revenge geometry. We build a diversion, he said. Let her inspect chaos while we prep the real play. So we created the decoy zone. Barrels labeled hazardous plasma, corn syrup with purple dye, a scarecrow with motion-triggered cowbells, a rotating wheelbarrow full of rubber snakes, sign that read, Quantum Livestock Research, Entry Forbidden, a fake bunker entrance keypad that mooed when pressed, a goat wearing a helmet and safety vest just wandering around like OSHA hired him. It was art. Beautiful, feral, petty art. And neighbors started slowing down on the road, phones out, laughing. Rumors spread. Somebody posted photos online and comments rolled in fast. What in rural Hogwarts is going on out there? Karen returned with 2 real county code officers in tow. She strutted like Cleopatra riding into Rome and didn't realize she was walking into the great circus of rural retribution. The first scarecrow bell clanged. She jumped like lightning hit her spine, ordered one officer to document the illegal reactive intimidation apparatus, and when she stepped into the syrup puddle and slipped face-first into the hay barrel labeled biohazard, I swear angels giggled. The rubber snake carousel spun. The goat wandered by like even I don't know what's happening. The officer face-planted into a foam barrel. Someone watching live-streamed and typed, I can't breathe, this is glorious. Karen shrieked at them to maintain composure. This is a code red livestock violation, which is a sentence nobody has said in the history of breathing. When she retreated, covered in syrup, hair full of straw, dignity deceased, Grandpa leaned on the fence and whispered, bought us another week. But I knew. She wasn't beaten. She was boiling. And that night, as rain ticked against the barn roof and Grandpa's pipe glowed in the dark like a firefly that made threats, he slid out a blueprint labeled Plan X. And I swear the barn lights dimmed like they knew chaos was about to be born again. Next round, he muttered, we don't just defend the land. We defend the legacy. Outside, thunder rolled quiet, not angry, but patient, like it knew it would be invited soon. And in that stillness, between pride and dust and history older than laws written by bored people in golf shirts, I realized we weren't just holding ground. We were holding identity. And Karen, bless her stubborn, misguided heart, had poked the wrong legacy. Because a ranch isn't just land. It's memory made solid. And some things don't get surrendered. They get electrified. There's quiet that feels like peace. And then there's quiet that feels like a fuse burning. The next morning, the ranch woke up slow, soaked in dawn light, but the air carried a hum, like even the fence wires were whispering she's coming back. Grandpa didn't say much during breakfast, just sharpened a wrench like it was a knife, which made no sense until you understood that with Grandpa, sometimes tools weren't tools, they were statements. I scrolled my phone, saw the town gossip swirling like autumn leaves, videos of Karen slipping in syrup, memes of rubber snakes. Someone edited Grandpa into a movie poster titled The Haywire Avenger. Funny, yeah, but under the humor was something heavier. Pride defending land, memory, sweat. This wasn't HOA drama anymore. This was legacy versus ego, history versus paperwork. And sure enough, midday brought movement. A white van, cameras, audio gear, people in matching polos climbing out like they were filming a true crime documentary titled Attack of the Rural Menace. Karen stepped out too, fresh hair, fresh makeup, smug smile pasted like a band-aid over bruised pride. She hadn't been defeated, she'd been rebranding. She pointed toward our barn like she was unveiling a scandal. "We're here to film a community safety expose," she announced, loud enough to scare a grazing cow. Grandpa sipped his coffee. "Don't walk past the second fence," he said. "Land's friendly, unless you get arrogant." They ignored him. They always did. One cameraman stepped past the marked post. Pink dust geyser shot up, baptizing him in raspberry-fogged shame. He screamed, dropped the camera, looked like a neon chicken nugget. Karen shrieked. The boom mic operator gagged. Grandpa handed the poor guy his camera back, like a greeter returning lost luggage. "Pink pig perimeter," he said. "City folk forget hogs hate trespassers." The crew kept filming, but the footage didn't show a hostile ranch. It showed ridiculous HOA zealots getting outwitted by a man with duct tape and righteous stubbornness. Karen marched around declaring violations like she was auditioning for Judge Judy. Ranch Edition, and every motion sensor triggered a new layer of chaos. Synchronized rubber snakes, recorded cow arguments, fake bunker keypad mooing like it swallowed a trombone. When she finally left, covered in mist and humiliation, neighbors clapped from the road. That night, the emergency letter arrived. Enhanced observation status, fines, inspections, eviction threats. Karen had moved the battlefield to paperwork. Grandpa stared at the notice. Rain tapping metal roof, pipe smoke curling. "She wants a war," he murmured. "She forgot I don't mind battling, long as it's on my terms." And then he rolled out Plan X. Wires, speakers, floodlights, inflatable chicken, scarecrow dressed like Karen holding a clipboard like Excalibur for petty tyrants. He didn't say revenge. He said clarity. We set it up just beyond the property line. A monument to boundaries, pride, and the comedic justice only fate or stubborn old men deliver. The signs in fake Latin, the motion sensors, the siren program to declare. Unauthorized HOA presence detected. Goats have been notified. It was absurd. It was genius. It was Grandpa tattooing a laugh track onto arrogance. Word spread. Folks came to watch. Kids dared each other to step near it. Someone brought fold-out chairs like it was a tailgate of rebellion. Grandpa kept pretending it wasn't hilarious, but the twinkle in his eye betrayed him. Then Karen showed. Not swaggering, not triumphant, brittle, cornered pride held together by hairspray and denial. She stomped toward the painted footsteps like she could shame the ground into obedience. She stepped onto the platform. The speakers roared. Unauthorized access. Livestock lawyer has been summoned. Floodlights. Siren. Inflatable chicken rising like a poultry god of justice. And then, the piece de resistance. Karen's own voice echoing from recordings. If your goats don't comply with lawn uniformity, I will issue citations personally. She froze. She didn't scream this time. Didn't fight. Just stared. Pale, small, like pride finally cracked, and the person behind it didn't know how to breathe without the shell. She walked away. No shouting. No rage. Just deflated. Some battles end with explosions. Others end when the enemy realizes the war is ridiculous. 3 weeks later, the HOA dissolved. County removed us from jurisdiction. Karen's Jeep got towed as evidence. A new sign appeared at the trail. Smile, this land don't bow. Grandpa framed his blueprint. Mom baked a pie. Neighbors stopped pretending fences made them strangers. And I realized, Grandpa hadn't won with force, or spite, or fear. He won with identity. He turned the land itself into a voice, funny, stubborn, rooted, unapologetically free. And when tyranny came disguised as law and order righteousness, the land laughed. And the tyrant didn't know how to survive humor stronger than fear. That evening, Grandpa sat on the porch, feet up, pipe glowing, the inflatable chicken still swaying in the breeze like a patriotic flag of nonsense and dignity. He didn't smile, didn't boast. Just breathed that quiet breath of a man who defended something real, and did it without becoming ugly to do it. Think she'll ever come back? I asked. He shrugged. Folks like her don't quit, they just move on to other fences. We watched fireflies blink like nature's applause. And in the hush between us and dusk, He added, almost tender, "But fences ain't meant to trap people. They're meant to remind both sides where to stand." Then he chuckled, "And some fences bite. And now I ask you, yeah, you watching this, scrolling, sipping your soda like you're safe from the HOA. Who was right? Who crossed the line first? Does protecting land mean bending rules? Or does blind authority turn neighbors into invaders? Tell me in the comments. Drop your HOA horror stories, your grandpa wisdom, your best petty justice moments. Because out here, land remembers, and so do people. And sometimes the loudest revolution starts with a fence, a generator, and a chicken the size of your pride. Your move, HOA warriors.